Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm coordinator of the One Democratic State campaign. It is a campaign that was launched in 2018, calls for one state from the river to the sea. And it integrates previous work and initiatives that has also, that have been calling also for one state. The previous initiatives, in fact, could not take off, could not succeed. But in fact, we benefited from the massive literature that these initiatives produced. And also we benefited from their experience. So we thought that we can start or resume their work in a different way. And we have been working since then almost invisibly to build a hard core of people, with hundreds of people who can one day be enlisted in building a mass or grassroots movement that can play an effective political role. I can say that we have made major strides on the practical level or on the organizational level, but we have succeeded to some extent to push the one-state discourse into the public discourse, Palestinian public discourse. And that, I think, is important. Maybe for many people would think that this is not so important, but I would explain very shortly why it is important. I mean, to push the one-state discourse into the public discourse. Because since Oslo, the Palestinian movement dropped the anti-colonial discourse, the liberation discourse. And we had to regain this discourse and the liberation struggle, that our cause is not a conflict between two equal sides, but it is a colonial struggle. And that is very important for the consciousness. I mean, this is why sometimes we call that to restore the consciousness of the Palestinians after the Palestinian Authority helped or played a very negative role in deforming the national consciousness and destroying the anti-colonial. 1 minute, okay. So it is a Palestinian-led movement. We have, of course, anti-colonial Jews. We are proud of them, they are with us. But the burden of working, in fact, it's on us, on our shoulders as Palestinians, because the Palestinians are fragmented. The Palestinian national movement has been disunited for many years. So this is our burden, I mean, at least to reunite the Palestinian people, to work into this direction, and also to try to restructure the PLO, to be involved in the initiative. Many initiatives have been taking place in Palestine in order to restructure the PLO, to reform the PLO, and to return this liberation vehicle, which was once a liberation vehicle, to its origin, and take it from the group of Ramallah, of the Oslo leadership, which is still continued to adhere to the two-state solution. We are looking forward to becoming a mass movement. It's not an easy job, especially in these days, but we believe that this is the only vision that can really bring justice, equality, and peace for the region, for the Palestinian people, for the Jews, for the world.
Thank you.
Bonjour à toutes et à toutes, et un grand merci aux organisatrices et aux organisateurs d'avoir rendu ce moment possible. Je vais vous présenter en 1 minute 30 Tzedek, un collectif juif anticolonialiste depuis la France.
Thank you everyone, good morning. I will represent in 1 minute and a half Tzedek, which is a French decolonial Jewish collective.
Nous, on essaye d'inscrire notre antisionisme dans un combat plus large. On considère que le sionisme est un enfant de l'impérialisme et comme on vit dans un pays qui est le deuxième vendeur d'armes au monde, qui a des colonies de la Caraïbe à l'Indo-Pacifique, un pays où il y a une forte islamophobie et un pays où la police tue, on inscrit notre combat dans un antiracisme, un antifascisme plus large.
We consider Zionism as part of imperialism and colonialism, and as we live in France, in a country which has a large history of imperialism, colonialism, and racism, we put Zionism in this context of a colonialist country from Caraïbes to Africa, etc.
Et donc, en plus du mouvement de solidarité envers la Palestine, on se tient aux côtés des familles endeuillées par la police, puisqu'en France, la police tue des Noirs et des Arabes sans qu'il y ait la moindre justice.
So, beyond our activism for Palestine, we are also in solidarity with all racialized groups in France, people of black color, for instance, which the French police kill with no reason, illegal killing of these people in France.
Aux côtés de différents collectifs de plusieurs diasporas, de groupes contre l'islamophobie, la négrophobie, et aux côtés des groupes antifascistes.
And we are also in solidarity with different groups of diaspora, of group anti-fascist, racialized groups. We are in solidarity with different groups. It's not only about Palestine.
Et on essaye aussi de se réapproprier la richesse et la diversité de nos cultures juives en organisant par exemple des shabbats, des concerts, des fêtes, etc.
And in addition, we also enrich and we enjoy our culture, our Jewish culture. We appropriate this culture once again, for instance, by doing Shabbat, by Jewish celebrations, etc.
Par exemple, il y a un an, on a organisé un meeting avec une dizaine d'organisations juives contre le colonialisme. Récemment, un colloque sur les 80 ans d'Auschwitz pour parler du fait génocidaire et un festival anti-impérialiste avec des artistes de rap très connus.
For example, 1 year ago, we organized an international Jewish meeting in Paris. For the Holocaust Remembrance Day, we organized 2 days Congress on genocide, the genocidal fact. And recently, we organized an anti-colonial festival in Paris.
Et pour finir, je peux vous citer quelques campagnes à laquelle on participe, en plus de BDS, évidemment.
So to finish, just to cite certain campaigns we participate in addition to, obviously, BDS.
Il y a eu Gino, avec les inculpés de Budapest, qui ont manifesté contre des fascistes en Hongrie, dont plusieurs personnes ont été emprisonnées, notamment Maya en Allemagne.
So one campaign is Gino, who was arrested in Budapest by the Hungarian government. We did a campaign of solidarity with him and this movement.
La reconnaissance du génocide tzigane en interpellant des élus au Parlement.
The recognition of the genocide against the Tsigan, including advocacy with parliamentarians in Paris.
Guerre à la guerre, une coalition contre l'armement, la militarisation et la domination policière, puisque la France est le deuxième vendeur d'armes au monde.
Also, we are fighting the arms industry with different groups across Europe, and France, since France has a huge arms industry, obviously.
Et aux côtés du peuple kanak, qui mène un combat pour son indépendance, c'est une colonie dans laquelle, l'année dernière, plus de 10 personnes ont été tuées par la police et des milices d'extrême droite.
10 personnes. And also solidarity with the people of Madagascar, an ancient and old French colony in which last year only 10 people were killed by police and fascist groups.
Et pour finir, puisqu'on va parler des actions, etc., on essaye d'être présent à la fois dans la rue, à la fois au Parlement, et de construire une hégémonie qui va des milieux intellectuels jusqu'à bientôt de la vulgarisation sur TikTok.
So we are trying to be present in the street level, grassroots, in the French Parliament, and also across social media, including Instagram and TikTok. We are all over the place.
Et je vais respecter le temps, donc je ne vais pas pouvoir vous expliquer tout ce qu'on fait, mais je m'arrête ici. Voilà.
No more time. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. So my name is Yoav Shemer Kuntz. I will discuss a bit about European Jews for Palestine, EJP. I'll begin by a short story. We created this organization in September 2024. We discussed the name, and we found the best would be European Jews for Palestine. We are a pan-European movement. We have now 22 groups, Jewish groups and communities across Europe. And we are like-minded. We are fighting also in solidarity with our Palestinian sisters and brothers to liberate Palestine from Zionism. And in September, I saw an Instagram speech of Mark Botenga. Mark Botenga, a member of European Parliament from Belgium. And he spoke really, really strongly against the genocide in Gaza. So I wrote him an email presenting our group, European Jews for Palestine, and proposing to him that we launch publicly our new organization in the European Parliament in Brussels. Few hours later, I got a telephone call from Brussels saying that Mark is okay, we will do this. And 3 weeks later, we launched European Jews for Palestine in the European Parliament in Brussels. We were co-hosted by 3 European Parliament groups, by the left, by the Greens, and also by the Social Democrat group. We invited from our network a few delegates from different groups, from Erev Rav from Netherlands, Tzedek from France, the group from Denmark, and obviously from Belgium. And we had the launch on the first day of the Jewish New Year, Aleph Tishrei. That was the launch of European Jews for Palestine. The idea is to change the narrative, to challenge the Zionist narrative and the Zionist dominant hegemony in the European institutions, the way they monopolize and kidnap Jewish culture, Jewish traditions, Jewish civilization, even Jewish memory, with a Zionist colonial settler agenda. We are there to break this monopoly, and I can tell you from this anecdote with the launch, our voice is needed, our voice is required. People wait for this voice to be heard also at the European level. So just to quote one quite senior civil servant in the European Commission that told me on the phone just this week, we were discussing anti-Semitism. We were discussing the fight against anti-Semitism and how it is instrumentalized, how it is used to justify the genocide now. And she told me on the phone, obviously off the record, I am anti-Zionist because I am anti-racist. What they need is us to protect them from the smear campaign, because they are all afraid to talk, they are all afraid to speak out. But many of them at the European level are with us, and they see the genocide, they see the manipulation, they see the lies of the Israeli regime. So what we do, we are there, we bring these voices to the European institutions, to the European Parliament, to the European Commission, and we try to develop our movement further. You're invited to come to our stand later on and see what we're doing. Thank you.
You know me, and I'm from Jewish Network for Palestine in the British Empire. In the British Empire, we have a prime minister that likes to put Jews into prison, as you know. Our organization started in 2017, and we are a daughter organization of the JVP in the United States. That's how we started. We have about 15,000 members and supporters and followers, which is a number we couldn't even imagine when we started. We started with about 200 people. So this is quite incredible, and I give full credit for the number to the Israeli government. Now, what we are doing is mainly a campaign of education. More than any other group in Britain, we have run about 30 webinars since the 7th of October on every topic you can imagine, with the best voices that we can get in Britain and Europe. And because of the technology, we can find people from everywhere to speak. On Monday, we have a meeting in the House of Lords which JNP has organized, which unfortunately I'm not going to be at because I'll be traveling, but other people from the organization will be speaking to members of the House of Lords. This is not as impressive as it sounds. Please don't think that there will be more than 3 or 4 lords there, but there will be people from the press. We have taken a central part in every single political activity, of course, the marches, and together with our sister organization, which is represented here, IJAN, we are the 2 anti-Zionist organizations in London. So we are really shunned by a lot of the other Jewish organizations because we are clearly, openly, officially anti-Zionist. Thank you.
Good morning. You hear me? Yeah. So I'm Iris Hefetz from Jewish Voice for Just Peace in the Middle East. We exist more than 20 years in Germany. We started as a very, very small group, and exactly like in England, it grew up because of what Israel is doing, actually, that pushed many people, many Jews that lives in Germany to our organization. Most of them, almost all Jews in Germany are migrants. We all know why. And most of our members are migrants from the USA, from UK, from Israel. We have hardly German Jews, also because there are hardly German Jews at all, but we have also Jews that came to Germany in the 90s from former Soviet Union. And our task was originally to be in solidarity with the Palestinians, which we are still doing, of course. And to that now there is another role that we are taking, and this is saying not in our name when it has to do with Israel, we are saying also, and this is the German pathology part, not in our name Germany, because Germany claims to speak for the Jews, which they see as a monolithic group, and our organization is in a wannabe empire. So the way of Germany to come back again to the civilized nations, as the West calls itself, was through rehabilitation of its past. And it was done by institutionalizing the memory culture and swallowing the Jews, speaking in their name. So the Jews that are able to speak in Germany, sometimes they are not Jewish at all. Every year we have another scandal of someone that pretends to be a Jew. In Germany, once, if you were a Jew, you were exterminated. Today, it is something very precious. So people are converting to Judaism or just converting to Zionism, becoming Jews like that, or just fake their biographies. And they get really high posts. I mean, we're talking about now the last scandal. It's the chief editor of the Jewish general newspaper, which is financed by the German government. Yeah? So we are the Jews who are speaking independently, and therefore we are being politically persecuted. This includes, for example, now our certifying as an extremist organization because we support BDS and we support other activities and aims which are described and in accordance with international law. I mean, we are actually a quite mainstream organization. And it shows more about Germany than about us, what is happening in Germany. So our task is actually to speak an independent voice, to speak also for people who are afraid to speak because we have, or we used to have a privilege in Germany speaking as Jews. This is not the case anymore. 30% of the people who are being cancelled, fired, arrested by the police is more than 30% because of anti-Semitism. Okay, so we are now in a situation in which Germans with Nazi grandparents, like the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, who's talking about the Jewish flag when he's speaking about the Israeli flag. Yeah, I mean, people in high positions who are speaking in an anti-Semitic way, quite open. They are the ones who are telling us. Descendants of Holocaust survivors and of persecution of Nazi Germany, that we are anti-Semites. This is where we are in Germany, and we have to struggle with this completely collective madness and try to stay insane and speak from the belly of the beast.
Hi, I am speaking on behalf of another French anti-Zionist organization, UJFP, Union Juive Française pour la Paix. UJFP was founded in 1994, and we are a Jewish anti-Zionist French organization. This means that we struggle against imperialism, neoliberalism, fascism, and of course Zionism, which is part of these, of course. Our fights are political anti-racism, namely fighting against all forms of racism, and thus also our fight relates to fighting against fascism. And this is very important today in France. The main items I would like to share with you is what we have done since October 23 as regards actions. Because I think today the main point will be to decide about actions to be done. One of our actions is our pedagogical tools against racism, Zionism, and the ongoing genocide. We have published 4 books in this regard. Against racism, it's a Jewish approach against racism. How have we become anti-Zionist? 22 witnesses. Anti-Zionism, a Jewish history, and the last one, based on the witness of our representative in Gaza, Gaza, Death, Life, Hope, which was published in April 2025. Our complaint, I have to say that we launched a complaint against Israeli French people for complicity of genocide and incitation to genocide for having stopped the humanitarian trucks at Rafah from at least January 24. And the French courts are opening the action now. At the end of May, they open the action, and hopefully it's a political action, but I hope they will be condemned someday, and that France will recognize that there is a genocide in Gaza by the Zionist state. Our struggle against French laws in progress against anti-Semitism and based on IHRA definition, which is clearly against freedom of speech, academic freedom, and freedom of opinion, and it's very, very complicated now in France in this regard. We also introduced an action before the French court against the organizer of the Salon du Bourget, which is a very important exhibition relating to arms all around the world, in which a lot of industrial and especially Israeli companies and linked with them will propose arms and sell them, but we lost this action, unfortunately. We have challenged Macron through 6 personalities, namely, I don't know if you know them, Étienne Balibar, Sophie Bessis, Ronnie Broman, Mona Chollet, Edgar Morin. Balibar had a phone call with the Élysée, but it seemed to be a kind of bullshit thing. We are acting in Gaza according to the need asked by our representative in Gaza since 2006, and we okay, I am almost finished. To continue to go around to make conferences, we animate debates, and we present our books in bookstores to have more people which are not activists to be aware of what is going on. We also fight against the repression in France, which is very important, by participating in action. We want to focus on sanctions. We are part of BDS, and we make pressures on our government. And one of our goals is to expand our struggles. And you have to know that we have an action against us for apology of terrorism. And we shall see what will happen. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Wieland Hoben, and although my main function is in the same German organization, Jüdische Stimme, as Iris, I've been asked to say a bit more also about global Jews for Palestine, which have already been mentioned on Friday evening by our British representative, Mike Cushman, but I'd like to say maybe a bit more about some of the details of the network, because this is something that's growing and that I see as offering great possibilities for the Palestinian cause, but also for the expansion of a Judaism that has been liberated from Zionism. And we have member groups all over the world. I think, well, 15, I think it may be more than 15 countries by now. And, you know, we have North, Central, and South America. We have Australia and New Zealand. We have all of Western Europe, and now also with Latvia, the first Eastern European country. And our groups also are of all sizes. You know, they might range from a 10-person group to the enormous JVP in the USA. And what's a very important function of having such a network where all of these groups are together and all of them are exchanging their experience and knowledge is that these differences of size become far less important, because maybe the representative from the 10-person group is particularly involved in writing the statements produced by the network as a whole. And the kind of magnification or amplification goes in both directions. Because on the one hand, a group in Argentina can say, you know, we are part of global Jews, this is a global movement. You know, we're always, of course, hearing that, you know, we're a minority, we're marginal, we can't speak for Jews, but we are everywhere. This is the proof, we are everywhere. This is a global movement. So a small group that's not so connected can increase its own size by being part of this. And at the same time, the more countries join us, the more authority the network can claim. Because we can say, you know, we're not only here and here, but we're also here and here. And that's why it's very important. That's why it's very important for all member groups, for all Jewish, anti-Zionist or non-Zionist groups in whatever country to join a network such as this, to connect with other groups and also as a way of amplifying themselves. And we've just also brought out a manifesto. I think there's one copy left over there, which also, as I said, sends a message also of renewing a Jewish identity that has defeated and overcome Zionism, as well as, of course, standing in absolute solidarity with the Palestinian cause. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Naama Farjoun. I'm an Israeli citizen living in Europe since 25 years. So I still am active primarily, but not only, within groups that are of Israeli citizens. And I want to stress that all these groups also have Palestinian activists who are part of our organic group, even though they are usually not in the front. So we don't do anything, or we naturally have Palestinian comrades with us, especially to also direct us politically and make sure we don't lose focus. So I've been out since 2001, except for 2 years in 2018, which helped me reconnect a little bit to the activism, local activism at the moment. Also, as part of Boycott from Within, we support the BDS movements as a group of Israeli activists who supported the boycott movement since its establishment in different ways, mainly supporting their actions and also initiating actions. And we believe that we know that for the BNC, it's important that we are coordinated and that we are always able to support as Israelis. It helps the European colleagues or the worldwide community see that this is something, that there are also Israelis. It makes it a little bit easier. But now it's no longer necessary. I think 20 years later, the BDS already have their position. So also what we do in Boycott from Within is educating Israeli activists about normalization, trying to get more awareness about the nature of activities and the nature of co-resistance as opposed to false or manipulated coexistence actions. 1 minute, okay, I'm talking slowly. So we also did in a different group in November 2023, very soon after the beginning of the genocide, we called for international pressure. So it's Israelis who are calling for international pressure. We organized groups across Europe based on the signatories. These groups also join local groups, Jewish groups, and independent actions. In Spain, we presented a letter to the Prime Minister. We are supporting the BDS, general BDS call for embargo and sanctions. Yesterday, Roshan mentioned that in 2001, the EU decided to use apartheid, referring to Palestine. In 2000, in December 2000, my last demonstration in Tel Aviv, I was with a big sign saying, "Down with apartheid." But it's an anecdote, but it reached, what I'm saying is that it took time to reach the general public, and this is persistent action, which is focused, that is correct, that is true, eventually takes time, but it goes in. This photo was in all the press, international and Arab press, and I think we need to find a way to get there and to say the things in a way that later can spread.
Amandla! Thank you. Yes, my name's Roshan. I'm here representing the South African BDS coalition. We formed in around 2020-21 to try to bring together all the different Palestine solidarity groups that there were then around the country, so in different towns, different university campuses, including from the very beginning the South African Jews for a Free Palestine, who play a really vital role within the coalition. Of course, as everyone said, SAJFP has grown in members since the start of the genocide, and the coalition also, we've now got healthcare workers for Palestine that have become involved, more groups in different towns and cities. There's an African Artists Against Apartheid group. My comrade here, Daniel, is wearing the T-shirt and can tell you more about SAJFP. So that's the coalition, and we try to do everything, although we have very little resources. But we try to campaign around BDS. We're affiliated to the BDS National Committee in Palestine and believe strongly that we need to be Palestinian-led. So the thing is, the environment in South Africa now, we have the legacy from the apartheid days of having, I think we're the only country in our continent that has a Zionist federation, a board of deputies. We have a chief rabbi who's gone totally bananas, and all those organizations, the JNF Fund and so on. So, we still have that legacy, so we have to also deal and push back against their influence. I think one of the obstacles to growing support for Palestine, well, firstly, younger people don't remember apartheid. They didn't live through it, and they don't necessarily relate immediately to that analogy. Secondly, apart from having these Zionist organizations, they have disproportionate, or have had up until very recently, disproportionate influence within the political circles in South Africa, including the African National Congress that had been the party in government, sole party in government up until recently. I think that was compounded by the Oslo Accords, which then meant that the focus became around supporting the Palestinian state of the Palestinian Authority. And so it deflected, in a sense, the narrative of liberation and, as was said, liberatory politics, and the fact that we still have not cut any relations with Israel, I think, shows that. So although we took that ICJ case, we still have trade, diplomatic, sporting, cultural relations with Israel. On the diplomatic front, that is very, very reduced. It's about the minimum you could have, but still we haven't formally cut those ties. And so we still are campaigning around BDS. As I said yesterday, coal is our #1 export. We want a complete trade embargo. We want to push our government to take a strong line within the multilateral fora for sanctions, but equally to start imposing unilaterally things like a coal embargo, which can be done. Colombia has done it recently, and they were the #1 exporter of coal. And coal directly fuels the genocide. It goes into the Israeli electricity grid. It's very clear to people that we are literally complicit, and we will be held accountable if we don't actually take action. Again, with sports and culture, there's no boycott policies being discussed. Also, now we have a government of national unity, which means we have parties that are overtly Zionist, holding ministerial positions within our cabinet. So the situation is not getting easier. I also wanted to very quickly say something about our continent. The coalition was part of founding a Pan-African Palestine Solidarity Network. And I think we have to take cognizance, especially in Europe, of the majority world and the role of the global south, because Israel has had a strategy over the last 20 years, well, more, but a clear strategy over the last 20 years to influence African countries in order to break the bloc vote of Africa in the United Nations. And unfortunately, well, fortunately, so far that bloc vote hasn't been broken significantly.
Sorry.
But it's not clear, and many countries in the continent still have increasing relations with Israel, are opening embassies there during the genocide. And if we don't pay attention to that, and if people in Europe don't stand in support of Palestine solidarity within our continent, we're going to have a much worse situation globally in terms of state support for the Palestinian struggle.
Thank you. Just a reminder, everyone, these are meant to be 3-minute interventions. It is also important what everyone is saying, but I'm just reminding everyone we're already a bit behind time. Thanks.
Okay, guten Morgen, good morning, everyone. My name is Laurent Cohen Medina. I come from Barcelona, where yesterday there was a 25,000 person demo. But anyway, I'm happy to be here with you. So my group is a small group. It's called Junts, which means together, and it's a group or association, Catalan association of Jews and Palestinians. We started our work in 2009. At that time, I received a call from a young Palestinian who asked me, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "Well, I'm not Zionist, I'm not religious, so I don't really know if I'm Jewish anymore. But if we can do something, let's do it." So we got together. We got together a few Jewish people and Palestinian people, and we started talking, and we were agreeing that this is settler colonialism. So this is the basis of our getting together, and that it is not a religious conflict and it's not an ethnical conflict. And then we decided that it was worth it to work together for pedagogical purposes, but also to show our solidarity and to work together within the solidarity movement in Catalonia, which we did. Well, we started in 2015. We endorsed the BDS call, and there was a coalition set up with different groups, LGTBI and others, and also foremost the Palestinian community of Catalonia. So I'll just talk about one activity which will show the context in Spain, because you want to know everything in 3 minutes. So Spain is, but my colleague will talk more about Spain. We did, for the anniversary of Auschwitz liberation, an act in front of the town hall. We invited representatives of the Sinti, Roma community, the LGTBI groups, Palestinians, and we had people from our group talking about their experience from their relatives being assassinated in Auschwitz. All this openly, with no repression. There was a lot of police, but this was part of a strategy to reoccupy the Zionist narratives, because that's one of the things we want to do. As we're not religious people, we're not doing Shabbat or Seder or anything like it, but we thought that this is important, and we will do the same for the Kristallnacht, I don't know how to say it in English, but everybody knows about it, 9/11. Thank you very much.
My name is Sam Weinstein. I'm from the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network, and the title says a lot. We are unconditionally committed to the destruction of the Zionist state and the absolute right of return of Palestinians to their traditional homeland. And I want to say our context is that yesterday, millions of people came out in the United States in more than 2,000 demonstrations against Trump, against the fascist, racist, anti-Semitic, Zionist Trump. And because of time, I'm going to have to let these slides speak for themselves. We've been running a picket for 85 weeks against the Israeli ambassador in the UK. She said 600,000 deaths in Gaza was acceptable. That's genocide. This is a demonstration outside her house. We demonstrated outside her house for 20 weeks before the police banned us. We moved. We continued to demonstrate. Next slide, please. This is about 300 meters from where she lives. And again, we continued to demonstrate. They banned us from there. We continued to demonstrate. And we have been doing it for 85 weeks. Over the last 6 weeks, next slide, please. Over the last 6 weeks, we have been outside the UK Parliament saying, stop starving Gaza, let the lorries in. And we've been outside Parliament every single day. We will not stop until the starvation, the absolute worst crime of all, stops. And we can say that we have expelled the UK ambassador. And I want to say this, we have very limited time. Next slide, please. This is us on one of those big marches. We have very limited time, but let me say this. I was a draft dodger from the Vietnam War because I was born in 1948. And I fought against the Vietnam War in several countries. But this movement for the freedom of Palestine is bigger than that movement. The Vietnamese won, and we are unstoppable.
Woo!
My comrade over there, Rachel, has literature from IJAN. I end with one quick story.
Time is up.
Yeah, one very quick story. On the first demonstration after October 7th, a woman came up to me and said, why are you standing against your people? Because I was holding the IJAN banner, the International Jewish Anti-Zionist banner. And I said, I'm not against my people. Those people in Jerusalem are not my people. My people are the Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians.
Thank you.
Free Palestine! Thanks to the organizers. My name is Lidon Soriano. I come from the Basque Country, and I'm going to share with you our way of fighting and tools from the Basque Country and from the RESCOP, the Solidarity Network against the occupation of Palestine in the Spanish state. Firstly, it's absolutely important to be clear that this is an internationalist struggle. Different people in different countries, in different trenches, fighting against the same monster, the Zionism, the imperialist colonialism. And the tools. First, pedagogy. The first time I arrived to Palestine in 2002, I was completely impacted by the situation, and since then I've brought 17 delegations to Palestine, we call it brigades, to show the reality in 48 territories and in 67 territories in all Palestine. And since the very beginning, the Palestinians told us, explain the people what is going on. And this is completely necessary, but not only that, also explain what Zionism is and what ethnic cleansing is. And besides more, we need to touch the mind of the people, but mainly the soul of the people.
1 minute.
Because when you touch the heart of the people, they get involved alone and they act. The second point, action, is completely necessary. The unity of action. We have to create synergies, not only among the groups in solidarity with Palestine, also climate change, also firefighters, health sector, synergies. And in this context, it's very, very important the sport area and the culture area, because they have a big impact in our societies, and they can change the minds of many, many, many people. And of course, occupy streets, show our anger in a polite way, but loudly. So, and third, to talk to politicians. It's completely necessary to talk to politicians because this is a political problem and only have a political solution. Of course, our politicians don't want to do anything, but we have to insist, we have to convince them, we have to join them. And if we insist, finally, we are going to achieve it. I'm going to tell you only 2 examples. In Spain, we get the change of a law and introduced to an embargo law for arms embargo to the states who commit genocide, I mean Israel. It was approved last month. And in Navarra, the place where I live, they is going to review all the contracts with Israeli companies. In fact, this month, they has forbidden to Israeli team to participate in a European softball championship that is going to be in Navarra. And finish, yesterday, the video, Hans, please. The video. Yesterday, sound. Free Palestine. This happened in the Basque yesterday. All the people shouting, free Palestine.
Hello, my name is Peter Eisenstein. Many of you heard me yesterday, so I will not repeat myself, or I'll try not to repeat myself. I represent the Norwegian Peace and Justice Party, and we were created because all of the other parties in Norway decided to support NATO. And as many of you know, but nobody in Norway knows, NATO supports Israel. NATO is part of this, or Israel is part of this NATO-Mediterranean dialogue. Any political party that supports NATO supports Israel. So we had to leave that party to form our own party. We are the only party that is explicitly anti-Zionist and anti-imperialist. And one of our strategies is to bring legal lawsuits against our politicians who are involved in supporting Israel. When we look at Francesca Albanese and we applaud what she has been able to accomplish, when we look at the country of South Africa and what they have been able to accomplish, we have to take up that banner. We have to run with what they have, the ammunition they've given us to use. And for us to sit back and say that we can't use this, what they've given us in terms of the ability to use evidence of their own crimes against them, not to replace other forms of action. This is in addition to. It's only now that we've been given the ability to use this type of evidence in courts and not aiming at Trump, not aiming at Netanyahu, because you don't strike the empire in the heart. They're too protected. We have to chip away at the size, chip away at the foundation of the support so that, as I mentioned yesterday, the powerful without the powerless are powerless. We have to remove our complicity in order for the powers not to have any power at all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ronnie. I am somewhat unaffiliated, and there is a reason. I'm mostly affiliated, and I take pride in being part of Palestine Action these days, a direct action group based in the UK, but now has spread to many other parts of the world. But there is a reason why I'm unaffiliated, because many things have to take place at the same time. I was a conscientious objector, at the same time also co-founded Boycott from Within that you heard about, at the same time also with Anarchists Against the Wall, going to demonstrate in the West Bank, taking creative action in the West Bank. We need to do all of these things together. We need to educate people, we need to dismantle the myths about Zionism, the lies that are being told in the media, and also, very important, also to take action. And action has different ways, and this is, I think, what this gathering is about. We need to dismantle the propaganda. We also have to take action, and I hope that we are able to arrive at some practical ideas today. When I was sent on behalf of the Popular Struggle Committee to represent in the European Parliament, I said, hold on, but I'm going to the European Parliament. I have to talk about the action part. I have to talk about what they have to do. So I said, okay, I will talk about BDS. I will talk about the association agreement, the EU-Israel Association Agreement. No one in the European Parliament cared about that. They didn't want to hear about it. They still don't want to hear about it. But this is what we need to do. More recently, as I said, I joined Palestine Action because, as we know, things have deteriorated dramatically, or basically the lack of action forced us into taking more extreme measures, direct action. Palestine Action has shown the way for that type of direct action that is effective. We have, yes, it does require some people to put their liberty on the line, but it also requires a whole network of other people to allow this to happen. And I will simply refer to a very recent film that is now starting to screen around Europe. It is called To Kill a War Machine. Get in touch with them. They have a new website, or get in touch with me, and I'll connect you to the producers. You can all invite the screening of the film and the participants from Palestine Action to discuss. There is so much activity that is happening and is exposing the way that the Israeli government is colluding with the legal system in the UK, and the same is happening also in other places. We don't have time to go into it right now, but this type of action is raising to the surface many, many other things, how the state is working against activists and how we can fight back. Thank you.
So, hi, my name is Christian. I'm from Munich. I'm here for DiEM25, which is Democracy in Europe Movement 2025. I'm also a member of Mera25 Bavaria, which is part of Mera25 Germany. So that's the party of DiEM25. Well, I need to say that DiEM25 is a pan-European movement. So. But as we have also some members in Canada, I guess it's not really pan-European now. Okay, so in several places there is Mera25 too, in Sweden and Cyprus and so on. And the idea is to bring back all the topics, the political topics which were removed from the other political actors, because they're just too inconvenient for them. So, and also to reach the masses of the people in Germany and every other places. So the idea is for the movement, and also the parties, to go right for the root cause of genocide. Because there is a genocide, of course, in Palestine, also in Congo and other places, and maybe some more places in the future. So the root cause for this is capitalism. So the idea is to get rid of capitalism because that also breeds fascism. And to do that, we need to enter the people's minds because there are actually they have the wrong. There are victims to the wrong narratives, also Zionist lies narratives.
1 minute.
Yeah, and therefore we want to bring back the topics back onto the political stage, so people can decide and be informed and so on. Because that's the real meaning of never again. It applies all the time and to everybody. So.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ivan. I'm from the collective University of Vienna for Palestine. We're organizing students at our university here in Vienna. We do educational work, and we also try to expose the contradictions of not only our university, and the values they proclaim to stand for, but also our government and our European values. So when thinking about how to fight against Zionism, we have to think about how to fight against imperialism and also the Europe we understand each other part of. And who shows us how to fight against imperialism not being dependent on it? It's the Palestinians. So they give us the lesson on how to be completely free from all the constraints, from the career constraints, the constraints of thinking to need virtue and a kind of moral superiority as we are taught in our universities. This is what Palestinians teach us, and that's why we need to look at how they form their resistance. And we see in Vienna, in Austria, we are also very much constrained by the civil society, by our own people, by the people at our university, and people are fearful of that. We see that, and that's why we need to, and how we do, overcome this dependency on career, because as Katie Harper yesterday said, people have different capacities of fighting against it. A pregnant mother can't just risk her existence. But when we talk to each other at the university and acknowledge that we are, for example, just a quick example at the union, when people do at anti-racist courses for their workplaces, they never work. What actually works, and this is proven, are unions. When people get together and acknowledge that they are on the same stage. And that's why also student organizing is very effective, because we are dependent on a common institution. In that way we can also apply pressure to this institution. But when our workplaces try to fragmentate us, when they try to distance us from each other, we lose that common power and that common ground. That's why we need to build that common ground at our workplaces, at our universities, so we can effectively from within fight against these institutions and their hypocrisy. Thank you.
Ja, mein Name ist Florian Keller, ich bin von der Revolutionären Kommunistischen Partei und der Revolutionären Kommunistischen Internationale. Und das Erste, was man sagen muss, ist eine ganz klare Feststellung. Die Palästinenser, der Völkermord gegen die Palästinenser, ist ein Ergebnis der Zuspitzung der Krise des Kapitalismus, der versucht, mit imperialistischen Kriegen, Morden und so weiter seine Krise zu lösen. Und deswegen gibt es nur einen Weg vorwärts, und das ist der Sturz des Kapitalismus im Nahen Osten, aber auch hierzulande. Und das Zweite, was ich sagen will, ist, auf dieser Basis ist es extrem gut möglich, auf Basis einer sozialistischen Föderation ein Recht auf Rückkehr, ein Recht auf Leben, ein Recht auf gutes Einkommen für alle Völker und Nationen zu bekommen. Und weil wir in einer kommunistischen Tradition stehen, stehen wir in der Tradition von Karl Liebknecht, der gesagt hat, der Hauptfeind steht im eigenen Land. Und hier in Österreich ist es eine Frechheit, wie von Anfang an alle in Österreich diesen Völkermord unterstützt haben, in den Medien, in der Politik, eine Mauer des Schweigens aufgerichtet worden ist. Aber jetzt bricht zum ersten Mal diese Mauer des Schweigens zusammen. Auf einmal hat sogar Heinz Fischer seine menschliche Seite erkannt und sagt, man kann Israel kritisieren. Aber wir sagen Taten statt Worte. Und der Schlüssel zur Befreiung der Palästinenser, denen zu helfen, hier in Österreich liegt in der Massenaktion der Arbeiterklasse. Wir sehen, dass 80% der Menschen in Deutschland die israelische Kriegsführung ablehnen, und in Österreich trauen sie sich keine Umfragen zu machen, aber ich bin mir sicher, das ist das Gleiche. Und jetzt ist die Zeit gekommen, um diese Ablehnung tatsächlich auf die Straße zu bringen. Wir müssen Massenaktionen organisieren, und auf dieser Basis können so inspirierende Beispiele, wie zum Beispiel von den Dockarbeitern in Frankreich, in Schweden und so weiter, die Waffenlieferungen blockiert haben, eine Basis auch in Österreich bekommen. Wir müssen diese Mauer des Schweigens durchbrechen. Der Zionismus als Ideologie hat abgewirtschaftet und der Kapitalismus hat abgewirtschaftet, und wir sagen, nieder mit dem Kapitalismus, nieder mit dem Imperialismus, auf Arbeit aller Länder, vereinigt euch.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Liebe Freundinnen und Freunde, mein Name ist Boris Lechtaler, ich bin von der Solidarwerkstatt Österreich. Die Solidarwerkstatt Österreich kommt aus der Friedensbewegung, uns gibt es seit 1993. Wir haben uns im Zuge der Zeit dann auch zunehmend um ökologische, soziale und wirtschaftliche Themen bemüht und deshalb umbenannt in Solidarwerkstatt.
Die Solidarity Werkstatt, I missed half of your introduction, but please go on. I will try to do the English translation.
Ich wollte eigentlich am Beginn zwei allgemeine Anmerkungen machen und dann zwei Dinge zu unserer konkreten Arbeit. Angesichts der Kürze der Zeit beschränke ich mich auf unsere konkrete Arbeit. Zwei Dinge. Wir haben eine Kampagne gegen Rüstungsgeschäfte mit Israel.
We have a campaign against weapon business with Israel.
Österreich kauft im Zuge von Sky Shield, von Elbit Panzerabwehrkanonen.
Austria buys weaponry from Elbit and other companies working with Israel.
Wir haben dagegen Anzeige bei der Staatsanwaltschaft erstattet. Diese Anzeige wurde aber abgewiesen.
We have tried to go against that jurisdically, but it has been rejected. Thank you.
Und nun haben wir eine Petition an die Regierung und das Parlament laufen zu diesen
Themen. And we now have
Themen.
a petition running for the government to put pressure on the government.
Eine zweite Sache, ich erinnere mich, am 23. Oktober 2023 war die erste große Demonstration Palästina Solidarität in Linz.
2023, the first large demonstration in Linz.
Und am Morgen habe ich schon gehört, wie im Radio Regierungsvertreter davor gewarnt haben, den Spruch "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" zu rufen.
And I heard on radio that people were, the government said, tried to prevent people from saying "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free."
Bei der Demonstration konnte ich dann beobachten, wie Polizistinnen junge Menschen festgenommen haben, die auf Kartons diesen Spruch aufgeschrieben hatten.
During the demonstration, I could observe how police would arrest people using that same saying on cardboard pieces.
Ein Freund von mir ist dann zur Polizei gegangen und hat gesagt, from the river to the sea, all people will be free. Ist dieser Spruch auch verboten?
And the same saying was also forbidden by the police.
Die Polizei hat dann auf ihrem iPhone geschaut und hat gesagt, nein, dieser Spruch ist nicht verboten. Ich höre auf, das hat keinen Sinn.
Dankeschön. Danke sehr. I'm sorry, it is improvised, but we're trying our best. So, ich helfe dir halten.
Ja. Ich bin der Franz Sölkner von der Steirischen Friedensplattform.
I am Frank Söldner from the Styrian Freedoms Platform.
Uns gibt es seit 2003 nach dem Irakkrieg.
After the Iraq
Wir
War since
bearbeiten verschiedene
2003.
Themen, aber seit vielen Jahren ist die Palästina Solidarität einer unserer Schwerpunkte.
And,
In Graz gibt es insgesamt 2 weitere Gruppen, die sich mit Palästina Solidarität beschäftigen. Und wir sind sozusagen das kontinuierliche Rückgrat der Bewegung in Graz. Ich möchte aber jetzt sprechen über eine strategische Schwäche, die wir in Österreich haben. Dass dieser Kongress in Englisch abgeführt wird, ist völlig klar, ist ein internationaler Kongress. Aber unsere strategische Schwäche ist, dass wir zu wenig an die Breite der Bevölkerung in Österreich herankommen. Und diese fremdelt oft mit städtischen, intellektuellen Methoden der Agitation. Ist auch nicht auf Du und Du mit der englischen Sprache. Und deshalb denke ich, es ist gestern mehrfach gesagt worden, Israel kann das nur machen, weil es schandhafte und unmoralische Komplizen hat. Wir haben auf die USA keinen Einfluss, aber wir haben Einfluss in Europa und in Österreich haben wir im Parlament und in den Landtagen keinen einzigen Vertreter, der Palästina solidarisch sich zu Wort melden würde. Geopolitische Konflikte sind eine Frage von Druck und Gegendruck. Und was wir hier tun können, ist, einen Druck auf die österreichische Regierung aufzubauen, damit sie von dieser Komplizenschaft weggeht und einen politischen Preis zahlt, wenn sie weiter betreibt. Und in Und in diesem Sinn müssen wir hinaus, auch in die Landregionen, in die größeren Städte. Wir müssen schauen, Che Guevara hat gesagt, schafft viele Vietnams, wir brauchen kein Vietnam in Österreich, aber wir brauchen viele Palästina-solidarische Basisgruppen, sodass unsere Regierung wirklich einen Druck spürt und irgendwann diese starre und unglaublich verantwortungslose Haltung nicht nur gegenüber den Palästinensern, sondern auch gegenüber den jüdischen Menschen, weil die werden den Preis auch mitbezahlen mit einem vermehrten Antisemitismus, damit sie diesen Druck nicht weiter aufrechterhalten kann. Ich danke euch.
Hi, so I am a trade unionist from the CGT Union and also an active member of La France Insoumise in France. Although I do not speak here on behalf of these organizations, I would like to mention that I had the opportunity several times to speak on the stage during the large demonstrations in London, together with the French MP Jérôme Le Gave from La France Insoumise. Not only because La France Insoumise in France has 71 MPs in the French Assembly, and is the only organization, mass organization, that participate and organize for the past 20 months the demonstrations and marches and every initiative against the genocide of the Palestinian people. And that is also the reason why in France there is a relentless and unimaginable campaign to target LFI as anti-Semitic. You cannot switch on the TV without saying somebody speaking or a banner saying that LFI is anti-Semitic. Not once in a while, but every day, every hour, almost every minute for the past 20 months. About a year ago, Macron decided to call for snap elections after he was defeated at the European elections. He called these snap elections with the aim of reducing tremendously the number of MPs from La France Insoumise in the National Assembly, and he failed. La France Insoumise not only maintained the number of MPs they have inside the parliament, but for instance, in the constituency of Jérôme, which is the poorest constituency of the country, in certain polling stations, he got more than 90% of the votes of the people. To conclude, I would just like to mention that we have initiated very recently a call against the war and against the genocide of the Palestinian people. And in light of what is happening today with the war between Iran and Israel, I would like just to mention that this call has been launched together with a large number of MPs from La France Insoumise in France, but also MPs in UK, including Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, with MPs from Belgium, like Marc Botenga, with Podemos in Spain, and many people in more than 20 countries now in Europe. If you want to get more information on this initiative that will yield and result in an international conference in October in Paris, please come to see me and I will give you the information. Thank you.
Time.
Hello, my name is Sid Schneid. I'm a founding member of Independent Jewish Voices Canada. We've played a leading role in the struggle against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism across the country. We have a website on it if you want detailed research to refute it. We played a major role in the legal campaign that successfully ended the charitable tax status of the Jewish National Fund in Canada. We are pursuing other Zionist organizations' charitable tax status, and we have every expectation of success on those fronts as well. We're promoting an intersectional approach to combating real anti-Semitism that is resonating where we're doing it, and I cannot commend this too strongly. We've been making a major outreach to church groups, community organizations, sports clubs. People are seeing the horror of the reality of Zionism, but they still remain stifled because of the threat of being labeled anti-Semitic. They have to have the difference between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism explained to them. When we do that, we find that our message resonates and people are thankful and it liberates them. Pardon me?
30 seconds left.
It liberates them to treat the Palestinian cause as they would any other human cause, and I think we have a major role to play in promoting that. Thanks very much.